Hey, welcome to Mike's Trains and thanks for joining me for another video. In this video here, we're actually going to tackle painting this building here. We're finally up to it and, well, I figure let's get it done. So, there's a lot of stuff we have to do in here. We have to paint the interior, walls one color. I want the floors a different color. The sidewalks have to go a different color. The front of this building is one color, and then the brick and all the back and sides are yet another color. So we've got a lot of things going on here. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different colors going on here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to bring this over to the spray booth. And we're going to start with the interior. I'm going to paint the walls first. I'm not going to tape anything off for this. I'm just going to spray it. Okay, and I'm going to spray the inside walls white. Alright, and then we'll come back and then we'll start taping off. Now I will say that what I've done to prepare this, and you can see I'm wearing gloves. When I get this ready, what I've done is I brought this over into my kitchen and I washed it off with dish soap really well, scrubbed it down, make sure I got off anything that doesn't belong, and then from that point on I didn't touch it with anything other than my gloved hands or a towel or something like that, because I don't want to get my fingerprints on it or anything like that. And I allowed it to air dry. So now that it's totally dry and clean, dust free, now we can start the spraying process. So let's go over to the spray booth and we'll start with the white inside walls. Okay, so here we are at the spray booth and you can see the building in there. I'm going to turn on my spray booth vent and it's going to get kind of loud, but what I'm going to do, what I do have here is I have my airbrush with some white paint in there. It's flat white, Model Master flat white paint. And I'm just going to spray the inside of it. So let's go with that. Okay, so this is all sprayed now, and you can see that the inside's got a nice coat of white to it. Now the only parts of this that are going to show when the interior is in are the sides on the garage side over here, and then the front wall. If you look through this window, you'll be able to see the front wall through there, and then through the front wall you can see the one side wall. Those are the only walls that are going to show, but I spray them all just so that I know I got good coverage. So now we're going to let this dry and let this sit for a little bit. Then we're going to tape off the interior walls, and then we're going to move on to the floor covering. We're going to spray the floor the concrete color. Then we're going to cover the whole interior. So let's get ready for the next color of the floor. Okay, so now I've taped the inside of the inside walls of this building. You can see the tape right there. I didn't get real crazy with the tape job. I just want to make sure that the walls don't get covered in the floor color. And on this end here, we don't care about these back walls too much. Right? I just don't want it getting all over the walls. So let's go ahead and start spraying that. Okay, so now the floor is covered. And hopefully you can see this. My lighting isn't the greatest over here, so there's the concrete floor, and you'll notice I didn't go all the way over to the other side completely because that's going to be covered with interior. It's this side that we're more concerned with because that's the garage floor for the 2-bay garage, and I also did the sidewalk. Okay, and that's all we need to be concerned with at this point. So let's let this have a few minutes to dry, and then we'll start taping off for the, I think we'll do the front of the building next. Okay, so now I've taped off. I'm going to do the reverse of what I said. I'm actually going to do all the brick color first. So I've taped off everything that is going to be the red color. So there you go. So now we're just going to spray this. Okay, so now we sprayed the red color. Now this red is not off the shelf. This is still Model Master paints. I'm using that for everything on here. And what it is, I took Model Master rust and I kind of lightened it up a little bit with some white. So that's the brick color. So now, like before, we'll let that dry, and then we'll come back and we'll spray the front side of the building. Alright, so now we're into the last color here, and I've taped off the whole building. You can see everything that we painted so far is pretty much colored. The only thing I overlooked, and it's not a big deal, is this little ramp here, and we can brush that in there, not a big deal. But I've covered the sidewalk, all the brick, the interior is covered, all the brick is covered, everything is good. So now we're just going to shoot this. Now we're just going to shoot this side here. Alright guys, that's it. That's the whole thing. Now the front is sprayed, and the color is nothing you can buy off the shelf. I had to mix it myself. So let's let this dry, and then we'll go over to the workbench and we'll unmask it and see what we end up with. Okay, so we're back from the paint booth, and this thing's had a full amount of time to dry, and this is what we end up with. Let's see, where to start. Gold star to anybody who noticed that the front of this isn't exactly the same color that I sprayed in the spray booth. After I sprayed it, I kind of went out into the living room and I threw it on a table, and I was looking at it on and off while watching TV, trying to decide. I wasn't too sure about the gray color that I had sprayed, and it turns out I didn't like it. So I came back, I rewrapped it, and I sprayed the front again. And what I ended up doing was spraying the front side here in aged concrete, which I kind of like a lot better. And then of course this bottom side is just the normal concrete color. So that's what we end up with. And then if you can see, I don't know how well it's going to show up here, but the window trims in here inside the windows, I painted all of those railroad tie brown around each of the windows and on the end over here, as well as the garage door trim right here that we put in last time. I painted those white. They're flat white, so it kind of just frames the openings a little bit. Let me pull out the roof, and then we can maybe you can see it better. Yeah, there you go. So you can see I painted the window trims. So where do we go from here? What I'd like to do is weather this up a little bit. I don't want this to look like this building was just built and furnished today and then they moved in tomorrow, right? We don't want it to be a brand new building. So I I want to start working on weathering this a little bit. I don't want to go crazy with it, but let me show you what I've done on the backside. And I practiced it a little bit on the backside to see how far I want to go ahead of time, just to know where I want to be. And I think that looks like what I'm looking for. Yeah, it's gonna go something like that on the brick, and we'll get into this. And we're also going to do the front side of this. So why don't we get started on that? For the brick, what I'm going to use is some of this stuff again, quick age. I'm going to throw some of that down onto the brickwork, and I'm just going to use a Q-tip for that. We're going to shake it up, and I'm going to take a Q-tip, and I'm going to kind of spread that around on the brickwork here, and I'm going to let it run down. I'm going to hit it right on the top, and I want it to run. Like that. That's what we're looking for. Just like that. See how it's getting into all these little areas here. I want those to get a little, just a little touch of age to them, like that. And I'm going to do the whole front side of this as well. And I'm going to tip this in ways to get that stuff around. Like that. We'll bring it this way, and we'll let everything run down. What I'm looking for on the front side is to get this stuff to sit on the little ledges, areas like that. I want to darken up. Just like we got going on here. Just like that. And then when it hits the bottom, I'm just going to run it down. And I really don't care if it hits the sidewalk or not. That's just fine. Now, I don't want this to be that dark, right? So we're going to take this, and I'm just going to wipe off some of the extra. Down on the sidewalk here, that's just going to dirty it up a little bit. And we can clean off some of this on the side. And now we're going to hit this side. Same way. And I'm trying not to cover just like the whole thing. I want to make it kind of random as to where it's going. Like that. Okay. Let me get my towel out again, and I'm going to wipe off the excess. Like that. So we have a little bit of a pattern in there, but nothing huge, right? Now we can put this away, and we're going to hit the powders. So what I have are pan pastels right here. Alright, and I'm going to take the white one. There's a white one on the bottom, and a sponge. And we're just going to go over, I want to go over this top piece here. I want to just hit the high spots on that, sort of like a dry brush. Like this. Just give it a little lighten. sort of like that. Okay, and I'm going to hit the brick as well, always in a down fashion. Okay, and the same on this side. See, now we're starting to get this kind of stuff, which I kind of like. Now, from there, I want to hit, let me get this back on. Put that back on there. Now for the brick, what I have is I want to make these bricks a little more orangey red. So I have, these are not powders, these are chalks, artist pastel chalks that I found, and I ground them up into a powder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this like this, and we're just going to orange that up just a touch, and that gives us that. And we'll hit this again on this side like that. Alright, so now we're getting there. Now we can close this one up, and let's try, what I'm looking for is I have a green color in here, right here. This is sort of a greenish color. I'm going to take a little bit of this, and I'm just going to just lightly hit the front of the building. Like that, and then we can just brush just a little bit onto the sides here. Alright, so now we end up with that, which looks to me pretty good. I don't know how well this shows up on the camera, but the only thing I don't want to do is I want to keep away anything that's too heavy on the recessed parts of the front here, because if it goes too heavy on that, then the recesses kind of go away. Right, then we could probably balance that. Maybe we'll take some of this dark brown color and just hit the brick just a little bit. And it gives us just a little more uneven variation to the coloring of the red. We'll hit this one a little bit over here. Like that. So now you can see, so it kind of matches with the back side to this side, and we have the front. And I may even hit the front maybe with a little bit more of the light color, because I want the wall to be kind of light, right? So kind of like that. And I think that's all I'm going to do to it. I think it looks pretty good as is. Just clean up some of this. So I think it looks pretty good like that. I think we'll leave it at that. Now a lot of times what I'll do is I'll clear coat this to seal it all in. But if you're doing this and you're using these powders, you have to keep in mind that when you put a clear coat on, it cuts down how much of this stays. Like the clear coat will absorb some of that and it won't stay. So you have to keep that in mind. I don't think I'm going to clear coat it because the building is going to go in and then it's not going to be touched again. So I don't really see a need to have to clear coat it. And you can see a difference between the wall here and the sidewalk color. That's the only thing I wanted to make sure about, that there is a difference in the color. And we have that. And there's the end there. So now we have something with a little bit of age to it. Okay. I should probably hit this backside just a touch. It's not like it can be seen very well, but for me, I know it's there. So, and there would be the backside. You don't have to get a lot in there. After all, the building's not abandoned. It's just been around for a while. Now I want to weather the garage floor here, and we only need to weather from right here straight back over this way. Okay, and what I have for that is, so I have one of these, if I can get it out of the pack. Right here. These are sponges. They're made to go onto a stick. They have a hole in it and a stick slides in there, and it has a handle that you can use. I don't think I have that handy here, so I'm not going to use it. And then what I have to use this with, oh, here's the one I was using before, which is right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dip this in. I have a small bottle of graphite, and I came across this accidentally. I was looking for my black chalks and I happened to bump into this graphite. And if you've ever used it, it's a total mess to use if you need to darken something up, or it's made for locks. It's actually a dry lubricant for locks. But boy, oh boy, does it do a job on this stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to darken the travel path of the cars in the garage. So what we've got here, I'm just going to put light lines where they would park, like this. Okay, so we have something like that. Now I'm going to take my sponge and just kind of smear that and get it all pushed in there, because it is a garage and this is where the work gets done, and the floor and the stuff is going to be all a big mess. It's going to be dirty. Now I'm just going to take some of these other colors and I'm going to brush those around in there as well. And we'll lighten that up with a little white. So there's the garage floor right there. See, we're nice and dirty. It's not too much. It's very plausible as to how much dirt's in there. And I think we're good at that point. I don't think I need to put any more. Now the only thing I didn't do was I didn't cover the tops of these little pieces here, because these are concrete. These would be parts of the sidewalk, and those are painted actually the same color as this piece and this piece. So we're only concerned with where the cars go in between here. And then I'm also going to do the same to this piece on the end here, but I'm not going to do nearly the same amount. So I'm just going to hit that like that. brush that off. A little bit of white. Lighten it up. And now we have our nice little raised entrance for the cars to get into the showroom. And that's it. That's all I'm going to do. There's no more weathering to do with this. We're going to leave it right at that, and I think we're good. At this point, we're going to call this video done. You've seen the whole painting process that I go through. I do apologize. Some of the video angles were really bad, but you know, this is why I don't film me airbrushing, because it's such a tight area where my booth is that it's hard to get the camera in there. But anyway, that's, you saw the process of painting and what I do. So next video, we're actually going to start building the interior to this. Okay. And we'll do the interior and lighting, get this bad boy finished up and ready to go on to the layout. If you're just finding me for the first time and you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel. Love to have you along. Always lots of stuff going on. So anyway, until next time, happy modeling.